We hear so much about tackling climate change. Sometimes it feels a bit abstract, doesn't it? But today, we're actually getting into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, the practical side.
Exactly. We're diving deep into the UK government's, well, pretty significant new push. They want to be a world leader in green finance.
And a big part of that is strengthening these things called voluntary carbon and nature markets.
Right. So what are those exactly? For you listening, maybe give us a quick reminder.
Sure. So voluntary carbon credits. Think of them as tradable units. They represent greenhouse gas emissions that have been reduced or, removed from the atmosphere.
Okay.
Like, say, a company pays to restore a forest. The carbon captured by those trees, that gets measured, turned into credits.
And then another company might buy those credits to offset their own emissions.
Precisely. And nature markets are kind of similar, but they focus more on valuing things like, say, biodiversity or healthy ecosystems like wetlands. Businesses invest, enhance these assets, and maybe get credits or some other financial return.
Got it. So the UK government has just put out some quite detailed plans on this, right? We're looking at their press releases.
That's our source material today, yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack this plan for change, as they're calling it. What's the goal? Why the strategy? And, what could it all mean?
For businesses, for the environment.
And for you listening, ultimately.
Right. So let's kick off with that ambition. What exactly is the UK aiming for here?
Well, it's pretty bold. They want to position the UK as the global hub for green finance.
Okay. That's a big statement.
It is. And a central piece of this is really boosting the trade in these voluntary carbon credits. They see it as, well, twofold. Good for the environment, obviously, but also a way to drive growth and investment.
All under this plan for change idea.
Exactly.
So why now? Why the big push to strengthen these particular markets at this moment? What's the thinking?
Well, the government's take is that the current situation, it's not really working as well as it could be. They feel these markets aren't hitting their potential. There's maybe a lack of clarity for businesses on how to get involved, how it all works.
And maybe some concerns about quality.
Yeah, they mention poor practice, which sounds like, credits that perhaps didn't deliver the environmental benefits they claimed. And that obviously holds things back.
And hinders trust, I imagine.
Definitely. And apparently businesses themselves have been asking for clearer rules, clearer guidance, especially as they try to figure out their own net zero plans.
Okay, so that leads us to their proposed solution, this global framework they're developing.
Exactly. The idea is to build trust, build confidence in the whole system of trading these credits.
How are they planning to do that?
They want to set up some core principles, basically rules of the road to help everyone navigate these markets and, crucially, make sure the credits being traded are actually doing some good.
So defining what a good credit looks like.
Yes, one that really delivers genuine environmental benefits. That seems to be a key focus.
And transparency plays a big role too, I gather.
A huge role. They're proposing that businesses will have to disclose how they're using these credits.
Like in their annual reports.
Yeah, as part of their regular sustainability reporting. That way everyone can see what's going on, what impact these investments are having, or supposed to be having.
That makes sense. Now, what about the scale we're talking about, the potential size of these markets? The numbers sound pretty massive.
They really do. The estimates they're citing suggest that by 2050, the global voluntary carbon market could be worth up to, wait for it, $250 billion.
Wow.
And the nature market, potentially $69 billion. But, and this is important.
There's always a but.
Yes. It relies on the right conditions being in place, which I guess brings us back to why they're so focused on building integrity and trust now. That potential won't materialize otherwise.
And for UK businesses specifically, what's the opportunity?
Well, they're really highlighting the potential here, especially for groups like farmers and land managers.
Oh, interesting. New income streams.
Exactly. New revenue, new investment opportunities. It kind of paints a picture of a more environmentally focused rural economy, perhaps.
And it's not just about the environment, is it? They're linking this strongly to economic benefits, too.
Oh, absolutely. They point to $43.7 billion in private investment already flowing into UK clean energy since last July.
That's quite a chunk of change.
It is. And they also quote the CBI, the Confederation of British Industry, saying the net zero part of the economy is growing 3 times faster than the overall economy.
Wow, 3 times faster.
Yeah, and employment in that sector is up over 10%. So the message is clear. Climate action and economic growth can and maybe should go together.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of this framework. what are these core principles they're consulting on?
Right. There's 6 of them. They're out for consultation now.
Oh,
First
yeah.
up, the credits have to meet recognized high integrity standards.
Makes sense. Quality control,
Right.
basically.
Pretty much, ensuring they actually deliver. Second, buyers the companies using the credits need to measure and clearly report how they plan to use them. Back to that transparency point.
Okay. What's number 3?
Third principle is about the bigger picture. How do these credits fit into a company's overall climate strategy?
Ah, so not just buying credits as a sort of easy way out.
Precisely. They need to show how it aligns with their transition plan, contributing towards that big 1.5 degree C Paris Agreement goal. The idea is credits are additional to cutting your own emissions, not instead of.
That's crucial. Additionality. Got it. Principle 4.
4 is about communication. Any claims companies make using these credits need to be accurate. Use the right words, don't mislead people.
Avoiding greenwashing, essentially.
Exactly that. Principle 5 is about collaboration. Everyone involved, buyers, sellers, verifiers, needs to work together to help these high-integrity markets grow.
Building a healthy ecosystem for the market itself.
You could put it that way, yeah. And the 6th principle, it really hammers home that point we just touched on.
The additionality one.
Yes. Credits must be used in addition to ambitious internal efforts to cut emissions. They can't be a substitute for a company doing its own homework first.
Okay, those 6 principles seem pretty comprehensive. It's also good to see they're talking to organizations already working in this space.
Yeah, they highlighted that. They included positive comments from groups like the Voluntary Carbon Markets Integrity Initiative, the VCMI. Mark Kenver from VCMI welcomed the clarity.
What specifically did he welcome?
Well, the government's intention to potentially recognize VCMI's own standards, like their claims code and a new Scope 3 action code they're developing.
Scope 3. Those are the tricky value chain emissions, right?
Exactly. Indirect emissions up and down the supply chain. So having a code for how credits relate to those is potentially quite significant for accountability.
Absolutely. And what about the perspective of, say, indigenous peoples and local communities? They're often on the front line of these projects.
A really important point. Yes, the announcement included input from Owel Masaradul, who co-chairs a forum at the ICVCM, that's the Integrity Council for the Voluntary Carbon Market.
And what was his take?
He stressed the need to respect their rights and interests, ensuring they're actual partners. And he supported the UK's proposal to endorse credits that meet the ICVCM's core carbon principles, the CCPs.
CCPs. Can you just remind us what those cover?
Sure. The core carbon principles are like a benchmark for high-integrity credits. They cover robust social and environmental safeguards, things like needing free, prior, and informed consent from local communities before a project starts.
Actual.
And also transparency about how the benefits from the project are shared. It's about ensuring these projects are ethical and effective, not just on paper.
That provides a really vital layer of assurance.
Yeah.
Did they mention much about the nature market specifically?
Briefly, yes. They mentioned the consultation is also looking at a recommendation from something called the Corey Review,
Would you recommend it?
launching a nature market accelerator. The thinking seems to be to bring a bit more structure and coherence to nature markets, which are maybe a bit fragmented now, and try to speed up investment in nature-based solutions.
Makes sense. Bringing it all together a bit more.
Yeah, seems to be the idea.
And if people listening want to get involved or just learn more,
There's an opportunity right now. The government has launched a 12-week consultation on all of this.
open to everyone.
They're seeking responses from industry, from the public, anyone interested. The document's called Voluntary Carbon and Nature Markets, Raising Integrity. Should be findable online.
Good to know. So let's try and sort of wrap this up. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, I think it's clear the UK has this big ambition, right, to be a leader in green finance.
And these voluntary carbon and nature markets are absolutely central to that vision.
Definitely. The real focus seems to be on building trust and integrity. That's the key word here.
Through clear principles, more transparency, and by sort of aligning with the good work already being done by groups like VCMI and ICVCM.
Exactly. And the potential upside is framed as both economic new opportunities for UK businesses, farmers, land managers, and environmental,
Driving action on climate change, protecting nature.
while boosting the economy. And it's all up for discussion in this consultation period.
It really highlights this shift, doesn't it? The understanding that governments alone can't fund the transition we need.
Right, you need private capital.
Loads of it.
Yeah.
And these voluntary markets, if they have that strong integrity, could be a really important channel for directing that investment effectively.
Yeah, if is the operative word there. Which leads to the final thought, I suppose. As these markets develop, how do we actually guarantee they live up to the promise?
How do we make sure that integrity holds and they genuinely deliver real, measurable benefits for the planet?
And what does this all mean for companies? What are their responsibilities now? It raises some big questions for you, our listener, to think about regarding corporate action and the whole future shape of green finance.
It's definitely a space to watch. A lot of potential, but also lots to get right.